but for me, his legacy endures. This Japanese robot enhanced people's lives and showcased the potential for robots to take on more sophisticated tasks.
The human hand is so incredibly complex that so far no one has been able to mass produce a robotic version of it. But this hasn't stopped robot hands from developing, and it's this that gives them the potential to do many of the jobs that we do.
Robots now follow their own evolutionary path rather than mimicking ours. They're developing hands unique to them. At Minnie's car plant on the outskirts of Oxford, this is a land of robots. More than 900 of them build the bodies of 1,000 new cars every single day, with barely a human in sight.
I feel like I'm in a robotic Jurassic Park. These robots feel strong and powerful and a little bit menacing. This new species have found their habitat and they're thriving. I wonder if Ben would like it. Robots are behind bars.
The mutant hands of these robot dinosaurs are claws. They lift car bodies weighing up to 400 kilograms, and with up to 6,000 spot welds on a car, they're kept busy. With their claws doing the hard graft, robot arms have replaced humans on the factory floor. I'm captivated by these incredible machines. They work in perfect harmony, robot hand in robot hand.
This is so frustrating. As an engineer, I want to get in here. I want to see how these robots work, but I can't. You know, when I met Electro, I was able to hold Electro's hand, but I can't get anywhere near these robots.
To understand why these robots are thriving here, I need to speak to a human. Alex McKenzie is a quality specialist at the plant.
So Alex, tell me what's going on here in this part of the production plant. What are these robots doing?
The line immediately in front of us here is a spot welding line. The shape of the underbody of each of the mini vehicles is set a few stations further behind, and then the spot welding activity joins all the panels together.
So what's the benefit of having robots here over humans?
Robots are predictable. They're not perfect, but they're predictable.
They perform pre-programmed repetitive tasks much more reliably than humans.
So people watching this might think that these robots are taking human jobs. Is that the case?
It's very densely populated by robots, but you'll often see people milling around. I can see a guy in the background there scooting along.
In fact, around 650 humans work alongside the robots in the welding area alone.
You know, it's a change in skill set. Previous manufacturing methods have been heavily dependent upon manual hand skills. Now it's more to do with the automation. It's all done on the computer. It's programming work, it's observation, it's setting up sensors, that kind of thing.
With powerful, predictable robot arms and highly skilled people managing them, the manufacturers believe they can produce better quality, cheaper cars. It's a pattern repeated in factories all over the world.
The advancement in technology has led to certainly efficiencies in cost, which allow you to attain those efficiencies in quality as well for a lower price. Yeah, it's a good thing for everyone.
The whole place just oozes energy and industry and production. There are literally robots as far as the eye can see in every direction here. And I love it.
With their claws, stumps, and one-fingered hands, robots have gone through their own version of natural selection. This mutation away from the human form has transformed our job market. Worldwide, factories are filled with over 3 million industrial robots. We've built a robot world and kept them safely contained in cages for now.
Some experts predict that by 2030, robots could have taken up to 30% of our jobs. But we've sort of been here before. Many people were concerned about the pace of change during the Industrial Revolution, yet, in general, it led to wealth and prosperity. I think we should embrace the robot revolution, not fear it.
You know, I'm kind of excited for the whole fucking journey, because at the end of the day, I am alone.
From other apes, our legs were one of the key things that set us apart. Walking on two legs is called bipedal locomotion, and it helps distinguish us from other animals.
We walk fluidly without thinking too much about it. And our balance is effortless. But for robots, walking on two legs is not straightforward. That's because it's the most difficult movement they make. At Waseda University, I want to find out how engineers pioneered a groundbreaking transformation in robotic walking. Their first challenge was to build legs that were flexible enough and powerful enough to walk independently, like a human. This is WHL-2. Built in 1985, it's one of the first autonomous walking robots. Dr. Fuji helped create a robot that mirrors our biological anatomy with mechanical anatomy.
Fuji-san, this robot is one of the first that was bipedal, so walking on two legs, yeah?
Yes.
So he's got the feet right down the bottom, and it's got the knees in the middle, like our knees, I guess, and you've got this big area of hips up here.
Yes.
You can see actuators?
WHL-2's legs are just under a metre tall, the same size as our human legs. We control the rotation of our joints with muscles. In robots, this is done by actuators.
So I guess these are controlling the movement.
Can get big power from here.
Yeah.
To walk independently, Dr. Fuji helped engineer a small, lightweight hydraulic motor that could be mounted on WHL-2's waist. In the mid-1980s, this was cutting-edge technology.
Very small oil tank in here, and very small motor is here.
What distance could it walk? 5 meters, 5 kilometers?
In the exhibition, 60 kilometers.
60 kilometers?
Yes, very long compared with the marathon.
Olympic robot walker.
Yes, of course. Champion did, of course, in that time. But the speed is not so good.
No, of course. The same as walking, or?
Compared with human being.
Oh, really?
Like that, and so on.
Okay.
WHL-2 was capable of just 5 steps a minute. When humans first became bipedal, like WHL2, we probably had a slow, lumbering gait too. As our pelvis evolved, we could shift our centre of gravity. Our walking became fast and smooth. Just around the corner from WHL2 is a robot that solved this next evolutionary hurdle. Built just 20 years after WHL2, this is Wabian 2. Wabian 2 is one of the first robots with a human-like pelvis. This gives it the ability to walk faster and more fluidly. It was invented by Professor Atsuo Takanishi.
Takanishi said, when humans walk around, we have very fluid, dynamic movement. Our knees bend, our ankles twist, our hips rotate, we've got gait, a wonderful gait. You decided to take this to the next step with this robot.
Yes. Before, almost all the robots had two legs, which is directly connected to the trunk. In that case, a robot always bend the knee like this. So the first thing we did was this. This part is called pelvis.
Like,
yeah,
just like us.
Yes. So while walking, the pelvis also moves. Because of the movement, the robot can fully extend the knee, like humans.
Wabian 2 mirrors our human gait by shifting its centre of gravity. Fully extending the knees liberates the feet and propels the robot's centre of gravity forwards. As it shifts backwards, one of the feet lands, and then the other foot takes off, just like we do.
It's wonderful that we can look at humans and say we can see this clear evolution from apes like chimpanzees to humans, this change, and you've got the same evolution with your robot here, haven't you?
Yes.
It was millions of years before humans learned to walk on two legs. By following our evolutionary path, these pioneering robots have mastered bipedal locomotion in just decades.
But now, on the outskirts of Boston, a world-renowned robot maker is trying to take this emerging species in a completely different direction by liberating machines from the constraints of human form. Robot walking has diverged from our evolutionary path and taken on a life of its own.
I'm on my way to meet one of the most advanced moving robots on the planet. More than just a master of moving, it's the ultimate combination of mobility, agility, dexterity, and speed. And the woods near Boston are its playground.
This is Atlas. He's out for a stroll. The robot was built to tackle the toughest terrain in the toughest conditions.
This is the home of Boston Dynamics. They get thousands of media requests, so being able to film here is a real coup. Kevin, hi, lovely to meet you.
You as well.
Kevin Blankspore is the Vice President of Controls.
If you want to come in the lab, I'll actually show you the latest and greatest.
Brilliant, okay, thank you.
The robots Kevin has helped mastermind push the frontier of robotic movement.
Really good shots back here.
Excellent.
Their videos, like these, get millions of hits online. For some, their high-tech creations are terrifying. But for me, they're awe-inspiring.
This is Atlas. This is our latest and greatest humanoid robot.
That's great.
This is probably the only humanoid robot you're going to see walking around outside in the snow, in the mud, just in the real world. It's battery powered. That battery basically spins an electric motor that turns a hydraulic pump, and that provides hydraulic fluid to all the actuators. We're a big fan of that because it's really strong and really fast.
Yeah.
They're also really robust. We don't take it easy on the robots. It's about 1.5 meters tall. Weighs about 90 kilograms.
So I'm surprised at its height. I mean, it's pretty small, actually. It's like human height. Isn't it?
Yeah.
To move around the human world, Atlas walks in a similar way to us.
People walk dynamically, so we don't try to keep our center of mass over our foot. We're actually kind of always falling. It's a controlled fall, but we have our foot down here, and our center of mass will be way out on the edge, and we're kind of taking these long strides, and naturally letting our center of mass fall.
To cope with the obstacles and different terrain in our human environment, Atlas's balance is guided by dozens of onboard sensors.
What's the rotating head here?
Yeah, so this is the perception system. So, this is basically its version of how it sees the world, the way a person would. And so there's two main sensors. There's this sensor, which is stereo vision. The stereo vision looks out several meters, and that helps it find good footholds, avoid obstacles, things like that. And this LiDAR is basically a laser rangefinder. It's got 32 laser rangefinders that spin around and give you about 1 million points per second of where the world is around it. So this one looks further out, and this will help you find walls and other obstacles and things like that so you can navigate through them. Each one of these joints actually has a position sensor and a force sensor, especially the ones down in the legs. Plus, we've got a gyroscope in the pelvis. And so with all those sensors, we're kind of always sensing how we're falling. So that's the key part, right? You actually have to know how fast am I going, where am I going, to figure out where to put down that next foot. So these sensors help us find basically no-go regions. We call them no-step regions, obstacles, so that I can still maintain my balance, even as I'm working my way through tougher terrain, like up a staircase or through a hallway.
So just like a human, then?
It's getting there.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Incredible.
To enable Atlas to walk like humans, Kevin and the team focused on the robot's strength-to-weight ratio.
If you look at this upper leg here, I can grab a version that's cut open so you can see the inside. I totally redesigned the leg to use 3D printed aluminum. So what used to take dozens of pieces, we can now print out of one piece of aluminum. That's allowed us to make a leg that's about the same strength as the big robots, but at about half the weight.
Wow, it is actually really light.
Yeah, it's probably a similar weight to your upper leg.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to see what it's like inside, when it's got all of the other bits.
Yes. This is Aaron Saunders. He's our vice president
Hi,
of hardware.
Aaron.
He also led the design team for the Atlas robot, so he can tell you more about the leg.
So one of the most important things about this leg is that buried in it are hydraulic components. Underneath this cover on the leg is a series of hydraulic valves. And these hydraulic valves take the high-pressure fluid that's generated in the upper body, and they redirect it into the actuators that make the joints move. So the hydraulics is kind of like the muscles for the robot, and the valves are what controls those muscles. And you can see all these colored channels here represent little veins where the fluid routes through the leg.
So that's quite like the human anatomy.
There's a lot of similarities in how it looks, and the way the fluids move around the robot have a lot of overlap with how we would move fluids around our body.
Yeah.
Many of their robots are inspired by animals. The limitations of human form have been removed. Big Dog, their very first robot, was designed for the military, carrying a heavy payload through terrain that vehicles find impossible. And this is their latest creation. A hybrid robot with legs and wheels. Top speed 9 miles per hour, range 15 miles.
This is Atlas's cousin, Handle.
Wow. You can see that there are some similarities with Atlas. I mean, this looks similar. This sort of looks similar.
Yeah, it's a great observation. The upper body is actually borrowed from Atlas, so the arms and the torso are basically the same. You'll see the arms. Here we actually mount them to the pelvis. And that looks kind of funny, but it allows us to do some interesting things. So now this big torso is actually free to move back and forth and plays a real critical element for balance. So if you think about when you're trying to stand still and someone gives you a little shove, if you don't want to step, you'll do a lot with your upper body to maintain balance. And Handle does the same thing, but it can do that without its arms moving around, right? So its arms are still down in the pelvis. They could be doing manipulation while the upper body is moving around to help with balance.
Great, so it still maintains its ability to do something in application whilst maintaining its balance.
Yeah, but the lower body is entirely new. We basically took off the constraints of a human form and said, well, you know, what if we open ourselves up to a human, but plus some machine things like wheels? You don't see spinning wheels in Mother Nature, but there's no reason we couldn't add a wheel to a leg and get the best of both worlds. It's far more stable and far more efficient than the legged things we've done in the past.
So it's more stable and more efficient.
And it's less complex. Yeah, so that's a big advantage.
Yeah, that's really good.
We think it actually has a lot of potential because it has a long battery life. It's very stable, it's fast, so you can think about it working at a rapid rate.
It seems like Handle is trying to tell us something with that noise. What is it?
Yeah, what you're hearing right now is the hydraulic pump.
Okay, so we'll just carry on doing that while it's stationary.
Yeah. And that's a fan, of course.
It's certainly seen some action.
Yeah. It's funny, that's kind of true with all of our robots. You know, we have a mentality where we don't take it easy on the robots. We don't have a problem with pushing them to the edge to see how stable they are and how they're able to react to the real world. The real world isn't a perfect laboratory where everything goes as planned.
Do you ever feel like sorry for Handle? When you give it a good push, do you feel sorry for it?
It's funny, we certainly get that reaction from people sometimes. When you design these things from the ground up and all of the mechanical pieces and the software, it's a machine. So even though it can look, especially for Atlas or Spot, like a person or an animal, there's no emotions here. It's all robotics. It's all hardware. And I certainly don't feel bad if I slap my toaster around a little bit either. So.
Yeah. Give your washing machine door a good show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I don't have to go confess after that.
Yeah. I have seen some amazing machines here. Two-legged humanoid robots, four-legged robots that look like animals. Their latest incarnation combines biology with technology, mixing and matching animals, humans, our own inventions, the wheel. This may seem unnatural, but once you've seen it all, it makes complete sense.
We're only beginning to understand the potential of this emerging species. Building robots that mimic humans continues to spark the imagination. But now, robots have adaptations that follow a very different evolutionary track. With mutant hands and hybrid limbs.
For me, it's been a revelation to understand the origins of our relationship with robots, and even why some people really do fear them. There is no doubt they have restructured the jobs market, and this will continue. But the biggest thing has been how fast robots are developing. We need to engage in this fascinating phenomenon to make sure that we have the choice over what we want robots to do for all of us.
And for me, I'm really surprised by what I've discovered.
So I've spent a little bit of time with robots now, and yes, I've seen that, okay, they're not quite as terrifying or as threatening
as I maybe first thought. But that will change. In the next few years, physically at least, they'll be able to outcompete us in many of the things that we can do. But for me, the real problem isn't if they move like us or even look like us. The real issue will come is if they start to think like us.
Next time, we investigate what really distinguishes robots from humans.
I think something's already happening.
Intelligence.
He's come straight for me.
Can robots become our friends?
Konnichiwa.
This is helping break down a barrier.
Can we trust them?
My feet are off. My hands are off.
That's good.
And will they ever become conscious?
Find a cup.
Okay, now I'm looking for a cup.
And he's tracking the cup.
Will intelligent robots enhance our lives? She will help set up a home for humans on Mars.
Or threaten our survival?
Investigate the past, present and future of robots and their effects on our lives. Go to the address on screen and follow the links to the Open University.
And to explore more on
all right. We got that second video ready? Or we got to get it again? All right. That was about 58 minutes. We broke that up ahead. This is the second broadcast because they tried to take me down. But it wasn't Facebook fault this time. It's in-house. So, I'm going to keep it moving with this music because, you know, I always got something for you. That's cool, but that wasn't the track I was going to play. Where that come from? Oh, you know what it is? That's that SoundCloud. And it was just like going on. My bad. Instead, though, I know, you know, people like my man Mos Def, Tyler Quali, you know what I mean? But I got to promote my stuff. So, that, you know, we licensed to play that. But tonight is Munk night. This is Queen's Passion. Yo, you squishing the screen? No, I said for the song. Yeah. All right. That was Queen's Passion. We about to get ready for this other video. I found another one. So we going, how long? I think we've been going on for like a little over an hour right now, right? Yeah, this is a little bit over an hour. So we're going to keep it rolling with the second hour. And we are the second live is like a half hour to it, so we'll do like another hour or so. We're still on the robot joint, you know what I'm saying? If y'all just tuning in, we still talk about the humanoids and everything, you know what I'm saying? Soon to be at a doorstep near you. We was playing with the idea that, like, you know, what if the robots was like drug dealers and shit? You know what I'm saying? Well, like, you know, when drug dealer cop the robot, but you know, if they go on the market, you know, they're gonna be anywhere. So if you get like put out the trainable ones, it's already off the hook with the sex ones. Like a lot of relationships gonna be broke up. You get a robot that's a human-like and gonna do everything you tell her to do. Only the bad thing about that is the women that get a robot, they're gonna be using to beat motherfuckers up. Yeah, he called me a bitch. Fuck him up. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get into this second video right here. Live on the Munk Show. Be back with you in a little bit.
They're fast. They're intelligent. They're deadly. Soon, they'll be everywhere. Robots and living machines are breaking out of the laboratories and stepping into our lives. Will they help us? Or will they replace us? Even the people who create them can't agree. But whether humanity likes it or not, the robots are rising. And our world will never be the same.
No, not that. You, I suppose you're programmed for etiquette and protocol.
Protocol? Why, it's my primary function, sir. I am well versed in all the customs. That is why I have been programmed.
What I really need is a droid who understands the binary language of moisture evaporation.
These are the robots of our dreams. Intelligent machines that live to serve.
Can you speak Bocce?
Of course I can, sir. It's like a second language to me.
And these are the robots of our nightmares. Mechanical predators hell-bent on replacing their creators.
I think the idea of people fearing robots is almost a myth. I'm not so sure that people imagine that robots will bring direct harm to them, but it may be the cultural changes and the changes in the way we do things may have impact or consequence in people's lives or workplace or the way that we do things. And it's that notion of change that seems to be the great concern.
A robot is a machine that performs useful actions and is capable of making decisions about its behavior. In other words, robots are the love children of computers and power tools. They come in all shapes and sizes, each specific to its function. As we shall see, some of them even resemble the artificial humans of the movies. But until very recently, robots in the real world looked more like toasters than eternity. Since they first came on the scene in the 1960s, real-world robots have slowly worked their way into industry, taking over more and more dirty, dull, and dangerous jobs with each passing year. In assembly line businesses, such as building cars, the ability of robots to perform complicated tasks over and over is a perfect fit. But getting robots off of their pedestals and into the world at large has proven far more difficult than science fiction films would have you believe. This is beginning to change. The revolution in computing power, combined with unorthodox new approaches to building robot brains, has resulted in a revolution in robotics technology. In the near future, the worlds of fantasy and reality may converge. When that happens, will we be ready for it?
RoboCop.
You better back up now!
Your move, creep.
This is the fantasy vision of police robots. And this is the reality. In Washington, D.C., the U.S. Capitol Police raced to the site of a suspected bomb. The Capitol Police are charged with protecting Congress, much as the Secret Service defends the president. These officers have to be more cautious than ever before. Terrorists have begun to plant 2 bombs at their target sites. The primary bomb explodes first, followed by a secondary device that's left to kill the policemen who come to investigate.
Things have changed a lot. We talked about secondary devices for years, and now we're starting to see them on actual incidents in the U.S. They've been common in Europe for some time. And the degree of sophistication has increased to the point where there are literally proximity devices, which used to be limited to military explosives that explode when you approach them. They just sense a change in the magnetic field and off they go.
Well, it looks like a box. Holding back this big.
When an experienced officer identifies a suspicious package as a bomb, the police take no chances. They send in the Andros 5. The Andros 5 robot has become the tool of choice for bomb squads in high-risk areas around the world. The robot's popularity is a sad reflection of the increasing danger of law enforcement. The machine is teleoperated, which means that its actions are controlled from a safe distance by the bomb squad. Guiding its multiple claws and cameras takes practice, but most officers feel it's worth the effort.
Actually, I'd like to send the robot in every time. It makes my job a whole lot safer. And I think our job is relatively safe with our training and equipment, but there's that word relative, and there's zero risk in sending the robot in. And if the robot bites the dust, well, I'm still here to requisition another one, and I've got all of my extremities to deal with. It's just a mechanical loss.
Now comes the most critical part of the operation. The robot must drop the bomb into a custom-made sphere that will absorb the shock of an explosion. Somewhere in New Mexico, a fighter-bomber has crashed. The military needs to get a nuclear weapon out of the burning wreckage. They send in a robotic Humvee. These are the jobs that robots are beginning to take on. Jobs that literally nobody wants to do. Again, it's what roboticists call the 3 Ds: dirty, dull, and dangerous work. Like the Andros 5, this robot is teleoperated. The Humvee can drive largely by itself, but its arms are completely controlled by a human operator. This is the key question of robotics. How smart does the machine need to be? The answer most roboticists give is simple. It must be smart enough to get the job done. In some cases, you wouldn't want to trust a machine to do everything. But the strain of controlling every tiny movement from afar is often too much for teleoperators, especially if there's a time delay between human action and machine response. The newest robots use the faster, cheaper computers available today to let robots think for themselves, at least up to a point. There are three basic ways to make robots work. An intelligent, teleoperated system has some computerized control at the robot end, but a human makes virtually all of the decisions. With supervisory control, the human makes key decisions about what the robot should do, and the robot has enough intelligence to perform its tasks without constant guidance. An autonomous robot is...
The future will be an exciting, fascinating new world, completely different from what it is now. Computer power doubles every 18 months. This tremendous rise in computer power means that eventually we will reach something called the singularity. The foundation of the singularity is AI, artificial intelligence. In 30 years, the ability of computers might possibly match that of the human brain. This revolution might be comparable to the invention of the alphabet, agriculture, or machines, which are the great turning points in human history. Now, writing was invented about 50,000 years ago, which led to an explosion in knowledge. Then agriculture was invented probably 10,000 years ago. The machine age began about 300 years ago. Now, a similar revolution of this magnitude is on the horizon. The singularity may happen around 2045. It means that computers may approach our ability to think. This may not be easy to understand or even believe, but such a future might lie ahead of us. Now, the first episode is about future predictions. Thanks to the explosive evolution of computers, it's possible to make reasonably accurate and realistic predictions about the future. This will vastly improve the quality of our life. Tedious drudgery will be eliminated. Sensors will anticipate where problems will arise or when machines break down, so that everything runs smoothly and efficiently. These predictions will affect every aspect of our lives. They might predict when you will get sick, where your next vacation will be, what the next hit song might be, and what the crime rates might be in the future. They will predict the best possible career for us, the best path for success and happiness, and even predict our future girlfriend or boyfriend. Yes, the future has already begun.
Today, the world is becoming full of predictions about the future. This is possible because computers are rapidly catching up with human intelligence. IBM held an event to showcase the capabilities of Watson, an artificial intelligence system.
Hello, Watson here. What are we working on today?
The company had already developed programs that can beat people at chess matches and on quiz shows. Now, managers want to put Watson to practical use. They're offering future prediction services to hospitals, financial institutions, and other customers. Various forms of artificial intelligence, or AI, have already become part of our everyday lives. AI takes the shape of robots like these, along with mobile devices such as smartphones. But what we see is not really AI. It actually resides in cyberspace on a digital network. In truth, every form of artificial intelligence is software that runs on a supercomputer connected to a network. AI doesn't simply use equations input by people to perform calculations. Instead, it can sort huge amounts of data on its own. It can also identify relationships between different pieces of data. People work to find the reasons for why things happen, but artificial intelligence systems scan numbers and look for patterns. AI uses information collected in the past and mathematically calculates probabilities about the future. Human beings can't grasp the computations involved. All we understand are the answers.
We as humans, as smart as we are, we just can't deal with all that information. So new technology like Watson, artificial intelligence, will help us work in those domains. By 2050, I don't think we'll be able to survive without Watson.
Artificial intelligence is already predicting what will happen in the future. Santa Cruz in California is home to 60,000 people. In recent years, there have been a number of violent crimes in the city, and the police force is understaffed. In 2011, officers started following predictions generated by an AI system called Predpol. They had been relying on instinct and experience. Now, their approach is completely different.
I got Predpol right here. Fresh hot Predpol.
Before officers head out on patrols, they look at maps showing where Predpol has predicted there could be crimes that day. Those areas are marked in red. Each side of the squares represents 150 meters. Predictions are displayed by type of crime, such as burglary or theft. The system doesn't show the reasoning behind the predictions, but the officers follow what they say. Since the police began using Predpol, they've made 50% more arrests, and the crime rate has fallen by more than 20%.
This is what the city looks like. As you can see, the city actually is a living, breathing, and moving thing. So if I'm busy chasing yesterday's crime here, it might have moved to here for today. And so that's what's unique about the Predpol program, is it predicts where crime is going to happen today based on where it happened yesterday.
The system analyzes crime records and reports from citizens, totaling 120,000 pieces of information per year. This mountain of data details when and where crimes occurred and what happened. It also considers other variables, such as which streetlights are broken and when bars close, and it identifies crime patterns for each neighborhood. The system looks for matches between past data and current conditions, and determines where crimes are most likely to occur. A police officer drives into a seemingly crime-free residential area.
There's been some police work done here. Motor vehicle burglaries here.
Predpol has predicted a crime will occur in this neighborhood where the road splits. The police usually don't patrol very much around here. Right after entering the area, the officer notices a man acting suspiciously.
What's going on, man? How are you? Where? I want to talk to you. Right now your pupils are pinned down, so they're telling me.
It could be, but I haven't gotten high all day today.
It turns out he had served time in prison and was on parole. The officers check the man's belongings and find an expensive bracelet. He's also carrying a knife.
Oh man, you know this.
Well,
The officers arrest the man on suspicion of theft.
trying to keep you clean. And see this road right here? Splits right there. These two roads right here. So you see Front Street and 3rd Street. If it wasn't for Predpol, we probably would not have driven through here. I would have driven you to another location. So here we are, right in the middle of it, and it worked just like we wanted to.
Experts say by 2045, it will be possible to predict who will commit a crime, as well as when and where. Predictions based on artificial intelligence are beginning to have the power to shape people's careers. There's a singer who was little known until artificial intelligence decided she could be a star. Her name is Heidi Merrill. She had been performing mainly at small bars in New York. Then, in mid-2014, she was suddenly thrust into the spotlight.
Thank you, I love you. It just gets more and more fun. I couldn't be happier. Everybody was dancing. Got people wearing my t-shirts.
A website powered by artificial intelligence predicted her songs would be hits. Singers upload their music to the site. Then, AI automatically predicts the probability that a song will become a hit. The website's database has some 3 million songs. They cover everything from classical to jazz and rock. The songs have been broken down into 70 elements, such as melody, beat, and key. Artificial intelligence analyzed them and found distinct patterns. Songs that went on to become hits tend to share similarities in areas such as melody and rhythm. The system categorized them into 60 different clusters. But it doesn't explain why the songs became popular. What is clear is that it grouped Merrill's songs along with the hits.
So these are the new songs. Songs that fall outside in the middle would be considered not to have optimal mathematical patterns. But songs that fall inside these already existing clusters have optimal mathematical patterns. If in addition, these songs sound like hits and feel like hits, and an industry professional believes that this is a song that has high potential in the marketplace,
Artificial intelligence ranked the songs according to their probability of success and introduced them to music producers. Because of that, Merrill was able to make her debut on a music show with a global audience. The show has been viewed online more than 25 million times.
I was like, oh, this is great. Somebody, finally heard and liked my song. And yeah.
The system offers a quick way to discover new talent and is becoming popular among music executives. Fans of the website include major producers. Some people say by 2045, artificial intelligence will even write hit songs.
We use you to create a needle stack, and then we build search tools to help you identify which needles out of that needle stack are most appropriate for your business. As you know, for industry professionals, Music X-Ray has no cost. It's a free tool. You get to use it in exchange for the work that you put into it.
Yeah, it's about, I would say 85 to 90% of the artists come from there. Yeah.
James, it's hard for me to keep up with. I mean, it's astonishing.
The race is on to develop more and more advanced AI systems that deliver the best possible accuracy. One of the leaders in this field is Google. More people use Google's search engine and email service than any others, giving the company access to mountains of data. Now, it's bringing together top-notch engineers to create artificial intelligence for analyzing all that information. Google is particularly interested in this next-generation supercomputer. D-Wave uses quantum physics to perform calculations. It's said to be the world's first quantum computer. Experts believe it will exponentially increase computing power. Most of D-Wave's hardware is a cooling device. The computer's brain is a small chip measuring barely 2 centimeters per side. Experts say D-Wave needs just a split second to perform calculations that would take conventional supercomputers thousands of years.
It was about asking a query and getting an answer. Now we actually will show you an answer before you even ask. So we'll tell you when your next flight is, or if your flight's delayed, even before you ask about it. And I do believe that we will be using data in all kinds of ways in the future to help us make the world a better place and help us understand what's going on both locally and globally.
The explosive evolution of artificial intelligence is on track to completely change the world. One man saw this future before anyone else. Ray Kurzweil is known for inventing the world's first scanner and voice recognition software.
This is several billion times more powerful per yen or per dollar than the computer I used when I was a student at MIT. And we'll do that again in the next 25 years. This will again be 1 billion times more powerful for the same cost. This is also 100,000 times smaller than that computer. 25 years from now, this will be the size of a blood cell.
He predicts that by 2045, computers will be more intelligent than humans. He calls this the singularity.
We are gathering more and more information about the world, and so we can analyze that information. That's called predictive analytics.
Predictions will permeate into our society. Now, in the future, these technologies will spread into all areas at all levels. What kind of society will emerge in the next world of 2045? How will humans live then?
Making more advanced predictions about the future will require the use of unprecedented amounts of personal information.
The Internet of Things is growing at about a 17% compound annual growth rate and is expected to be $5 to $7 trillion by the end of the decade.
Intel has developed this minuscule computer. By embedding it along with sensors in everyday objects, it will become possible to easily connect everything to the Internet. That would provide a simple way to collect huge amounts of user data and lead to more precise predictions using artificial intelligence. This toothbrush is equipped with sensors and an internet connection.
So we did the upper row and now have to go down.
It can judge whether a person's teeth are properly brushed or not. Someday, it could make forecasts about dental health. This company has developed a sensor that monitors people's movements and conversations. Every employee wears this special electronic badge. It records everything they say at work, as well as personal distance between people, how much they move, and even their gestures. It detects who voices opinions and when, and who takes the lead in conversations. It can analyze the volume and tone of a person's voice down to the 100th of a second. This information offers insights into employees' personalities and their potential for leadership. The data can be used to make meetings more efficient and for organizational development and personnel changes.
We fundamentally believe that this kind of technology is going to impact every single industry all over the world. And I think that as the technology gets cheaper, as these devices go into clothes and become essentially free, that's when you're going to see an explosion in the number of people who use it.
When making predictions about the future, there are also various challenges, such as the collapse of privacy and the rise of intrusive surveillance techniques. Furthermore, if some jobs are eliminated because of technology, it means that unemployment could cause unforeseen social problems. Well, I believe humans have always accepted the advantages and disadvantages of the rise of technology and have always conquered these new challenges. You see, technology is a double-edged sword. We must understand them and accumulate the wisdom necessary to use them.
Artificial intelligence has evolved and has started to outperform humans. Some people are already discovering ways to use the technology to improve their lives. We met a man who didn't simply rely on predictions made by artificial intelligence. He also used them to develop his skills and find happiness.
Hello. Hey, Chris.
His name is Chris McKinley.
Nice to see you. Come on in.
He went on dates with many women introduced by a prediction system and was finally able to meet his ideal partner.
What should we do?
McKinley teaches computer programming at a university. He used to find social situations difficult and was unable to build lasting relationships. Finally, he made up his mind to put his computer skills to work for him. He had an AI program collect data on 30,000 women based on their profiles and other information posted online. Then, the program selected women that he might be a match for. McKinley also programmed the system to predict the women's interests. Next, he used the predictions to design a profile of himself to encourage women to contact him. A number of women showed interest, and he went on many dates. Knowing what they were interested in advance allowed him to go on dates with confidence.
Yeah, it worked better than I thought. And that increased my ability to kind of be socially fluent within these dates. I got very good, at kind of charming people because the dates were so similar.
By the time he went on his 88th date, McKinley no longer relied on predictions made by artificial intelligence. He had a feeling he'd finally met the right woman. The two had recently gotten engaged. McKinley didn't need artificial intelligence to tell him they were a good fit. But it was thanks to AI that he became confident, completely different from how he once was.
I mean, it solved emphatically, successfully, a big issue in my life, which is meeting someone that I wanted to marry.
I thought it was impressive. I was like, oh, this guy's really smart. It worked to meet me, right? But it didn't work to keep me. You had to do the work to keep me.
Predictions about the future should be a tool for helping people. Beyond artificial intelligence are things that only people can understand and do. As we head into the next world, predictions will become more nuanced and will be used in every aspect of our lives. Now, human beings must discover how to use these predictions to achieve greater happiness and prosperity. Are you ready?
That's it. Put it back on, close it out, man. Close that with a song. Alright. That's pretty much it for tonight, fellas. And I'm going to take it out with something. You know what I mean? This is Out of the Air. I'll see you next week. Thanks.